The reading of our mother's will. My sister sat at the head of the lawyer's table in a black designer suit and crossed her legs and smiled at me the way you smile at someone whose seat you've already sold. The lawyer read it out, the house, the accounts, the land, all to Vanessa. To me, $1 and, quote, my love, which she always had in full. I sat very still. And then I said, before we finish, I'd like everyone to see the video Mom recorded 8 days before she died. My sister's smile came off her face like paint stripped with a blade. Let me back up. My name is Grace Holloway. I'm 38 years old, and my sister Vanessa is 42. And for our entire lives, she's believed that the world owes her the bigger half of everything. The bigger half of the attention, the bigger half of the praise, and as it turned out, the bigger half of our dead mother's estate. The difference between Vanessa and me was never talent or luck. It was that Vanessa was willing to forge a dying woman's signature to get what she wanted, and I was not. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Our mother's name was Eleanor Holloway, Ellie to everyone who loved her. She was a schoolteacher for 34 years, and she and my father, who died when I was in college, had, through decades of unglamorous discipline, built something real. A paid-off house on 4 acres outside of town, a retirement account they'd fed faithfully. And the land, which was the thing that mattered, because our town had grown toward it over the years, and that 4 acres was now worth considerably more than anyone in our family liked to say out loud. All told, the estate was worth about $1.4 million. I mention the number because the number is the motive. Mom got sick the spring I turned 38. Pancreatic cancer, which is the kind that doesn't give you long, and it didn't. From diagnosis to the end was a little under 5 months. And here's the thing you need to understand about those 5 months. I was there for all of them, and Vanessa was there for almost none of them. I don't say that to make myself a saint. I say it because it's the fact the whole story turns on. I lived 40 minutes from Mom. Vanessa lived 20, but I was the one who moved into the spare room. I was the one who drove her to chemo, who learned to manage her medications, who slept in a chair by her bed on the bad nights, who held the basin, who did the 1,000 small, ungraceful things that dying actually requires. Vanessa visited. She'd sweep in for an hour on a Sunday in nice clothes, sit at the foot of the bed, take a photo with Mom for her social media, cherishing every moment with my angel, and leave before the medication schedule got complicated. Mom saw it. Dying people see everything. It's the living who fool themselves. In those last months, Mom said things to me she'd never said before. She told me she knew which of her daughters had actually shown up. She told me she'd taken care of things and that I wasn't to worry about the future. She squeezed my hand and said, "You've given me your time, Gracie. Time is the only thing I couldn't buy back. I won't forget it." I didn't know what she meant exactly. I assumed she meant the estate would be split evenly, which is what her existing will said. I knew that because Mom had told me years earlier, matter-of-factly, that she'd left everything 50-50. So you girls don't fight. She was so sure we wouldn't fight. She didn't know Vanessa the way I did. Mom died on a Tuesday morning in October. I was holding her hand. Vanessa was not there. She couldn't get away. She arrived 3 hours after, already dressed in black, and cried beautifully for the neighbors. The will reading was 2 weeks later, at the office of a lawyer named Bill Prescott, an old family attorney, semi-retired, who'd known our parents for decades. And this is where the ground shifted under me. Bill read out a will dated 3 weeks before Mom's death. In it, everything, the house, the land, the accounts, all $1.4 million of it went to Vanessa. To me, it left $1 and a line about my love, which she always had in full. It was signed, apparently in Mom's hand. It was witnessed. It looked, on its face, completely legitimate. I sat there and the room went underwater. I remember Bill's voice sounding very far away. I remember Vanessa, at the head of the table, crossing her legs and giving me that smile, the seats already sold smile, and saying, in a voice dripping with fake gentleness, "Mom and I had some real conversations at the end, Gracie." She wanted to make sure the estate went to someone stable. Someone stable. I had held our mother while she died, and my sister called me unstable across a lawyer's table. Now, here is the moment the story could have gone the other way. Because in that moment, I almost believed it. That's the terrible power of a document. It was signed, it was witnessed, it was read by a respectable old lawyer in a wood-paneled office, and for about 90 seconds I sat there thinking maybe Mom really had changed her mind. Maybe I'd misread everything. Maybe I really was the daughter who got $1. And then I remembered the video. 8 days before she died, one of the last clear days she had, Mom had asked me to help her with something. She'd been agitated, insistent, in the way the very sick sometimes get when there's something they need to finish. She'd asked me to set up my phone and record her, and she'd said on camera, clearly, "I want to say what I want in my own voice in case there's ever any confusion." And she'd stated it plainly. The estate split evenly between her 2 daughters. The house to be sold and divided, the land the same. 50-50, she said to the camera, like I always told them, and I love them both. I'd almost forgotten about it. In the fog of grief, I'd filed it away as one of the strange, urgent things dying people do. But sitting in that office, being handed $1, I remembered, and I remembered something else Mom had said when we finished recording. She'd said, "Now send a copy to Bill and send a copy to Father Donick and keep one for yourself. 3 copies. I want 3. Father Donick, our mother's parish priest." The one person Vanessa would never think of, because Vanessa hadn't set foot in that church in 20 years. I hadn't sent the copies yet. Grief makes you forget things, but I had the video, and I had the memory of Mom's instruction. And in that moment, I made myself very calm, and I said the sentence that ended my sister's plan. "Before we finish, Bill, I'd like everyone to see a video Mom recorded 8 days before she died." Vanessa's smile stripped off. "That's not Grace. This is a legal document. You can't just—" "I'd like to see it," Bill said quietly. Bill, I would learn, had been uneasy about that will from the start. I played the video on my phone, and I set it in the middle of the table, and my mother's voice, thin but completely clear, completely herself, filled that wood-paneled room. 50-50, like I always told them. I love them both. The date stamp on the video was 8 days before her death. The forged will was dated 3 weeks before her death, which meant that either Mom had changed her mind twice in 3 weeks, cutting out the daughter caring for her, then apparently forgetting she'd done so on camera 8 days later, or the will was a lie. Bill Prescott took off his glasses. He looked at the will. He looked at Vanessa, and he said, "Vanessa, I need to ask you some questions about the witnesses on this document, because I did not prepare this will. This is not my letterhead, and I never met these witnesses." That was the second thread coming loose. Here's what the investigation uncovered, because once it started, it came apart fast. Forgeries always do. They just need one person willing to pull. Vanessa had not gone to Bill, the family lawyer, to make the new will because Bill knew Mom, and Bill would have insisted on speaking to Mom alone, the way a good lawyer does, and Mom would have said no. Instead, Vanessa had used a document prep service in another county and produced a will using a template. The witnesses were a friend of Vanessa's and that friend's boyfriend, neither of whom had ever met our mother. The signature was traced. A forensic document examiner later testified that it showed the telltale tremor and pen lifts of a traced signature, not a signed one. Mom, by 3 weeks before her death, could barely hold a spoon. She could not have produced that signature, genuine or forged, and Vanessa hadn't thought about that. And the motive was even uglier than the money, though the money was plenty. We found out Vanessa was in debt, serious debt, the kind she'd hidden behind the nice clothes and the beautiful social media. Her husband's business had failed. They were months from losing their own house. The $1.4 million was not greed on top of comfort. It was Vanessa trying to save herself and deciding that the sister who'd held their mother's hand was an acceptable price. The video did most of the work. But the video plus the forged witnesses plus the traced signature plus Father Donick, who, it turned out, did have his copy, because Mom had also called him herself in those last days and mailed it, and he confirmed the recording and the date under oath was overwhelming. The forged will was thrown out. Mom's real wishes, documented in her own voice on video and corroborated by a priest and by her actual prior will, were honored. The estate was split evenly, exactly as Mom had wanted, exactly as she'd said to the camera with the last clear strength she had. But Vanessa didn't just lose the extra money. This is the part where it stopped being a probate dispute and became something my sister will be paying for a long time. Forging a will is not a civil disagreement. It's a felony. Producing forged witnesses is another one. The county prosecutor, once Bill Prescott, furious that his name and reputation had been used on a document he never wrote, filed the complaint, took it seriously. Vanessa was charged with forgery and attempted fraud. A friend who'd falsely witnessed the document, facing charges of her own, turned on Vanessa immediately and testified that Vanessa had asked her to sign as a witness to a will she'd never seen our mother sign. Vanessa's whole architecture collapsed on the testimony of the very people she'd recruited to build it. Vanessa took a plea. She avoided prison, a first offense, restitution, the money returned, but she's now a convicted felon. Social media where she'd cherished every moment with her angel went silent and then disappeared. The nice clothes went, because the debt she tried to solve by forging our mother's will was still there, and now it had legal fees on top of it. She and her husband lost their house after all. The inheritance she committed a crime to steal, she never touched a dollar of. I want to tell you I take no satisfaction in that. I'd be lying. I take some. I held our mother while she died, and my sister called me unstable across a lawyer's table and tried to erase me from Mom's last act of love. Watching the truth come for her, in Mom's own voice, was not nothing. But here's what I actually hold on to, and it's not the courtroom and it's not Vanessa's fall. It's that my mother knew. That's the thing that undoes me, still. In the last clear days of her life dying exhausted. Our mother somehow understood that one of her daughters might try to steal from the other, and she took steps. 3 copies, one to the lawyer, one to the priest. One to me, to make sure her real voice would survive whatever anyone tried to do after she was gone. She protected me from beyond the reach of her own death. She saw Vanessa clearly, the way she saw everything at the end, and she made sure that when the forged will came, because I think, somehow, she suspected it would, the truth would already be waiting. We sold the house and the land, and I split it evenly with Vanessa, because that's what Mom wanted, and because I wasn't going to become my sister to punish my sister. I used my half to pay off my own life and put the rest away. And I kept the 4 acres worth of one thing that mattered more than the money, the video, my mother's face, her voice. 50-50, I love them both. Vanessa thought she'd written our mother's last words. She forgot that our mother had already spoken them, in her own voice, to a camera, 8 days before the end, and left them in the safekeeping of the one person my sister would never think to check. Some inheritances are money. One that mattered was 3 minutes of video, and a mother who knew exactly which daughter had shown up.